Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel with another video which is going to literally blow you away. So this, what you have in front of yourself, is an ancient sword which was found in India in a very old temple. That's right, it was just literally underground, and then once I discovered it, it shows that this was a sword, one of the leaders back in the day, maybe over 1000 years ago. And the sword is a sword of a giant. Here we have a second photo of effectively 4 people having to hold. I mean, this guy is just holding the handle. But anyway, these 3 guys are holding it, as you can see here. And this is how big the sword is. It's just absolutely gigantic. It's huge right now. Just imagine for a second, like, do you really think that a normal human being would be able to use this sword? No, you would not be able to do it. And of course, it was not a ritualistic sword. This was a real sword used by a leader, by a warrior, as in a giant, alright, a Nephilim effectively, in ancient India. Quite shocking, right? Now, people will say, well, Nina, this is just a prop. No, it's not a prop. This was discovered in India. It was an ancient temple. The problem is the fact that official science denies the fact that in the past we had massive giants, as in people were effectively 5 to 10 to even 15 meters tall. In some examples in the past, even more than 20 meters tall. So yes, huge, massive giants existed in our world. Now I want you to look at this amazing showcase. These are examples of melted cities of the past. You can tell from the shapes and the forms that the cities were completely melted down. The rocks got literally melting down the top, from the top to the bottom, as you can see there. And this is the effect which is done purely by laser weapon, high intensity laser weapon, or intense radiation effectively, which causes the formation, as you can see here, of the actual rock to produce this particular shape. You can tell effectively that this is not natural. This was done by a melting device. I mean, it's pretty damn obvious, right? These were old buildings, as in, ancient buildings effectively, and you can see the way it goes down and the way it becomes melted. That's right, the rock literally melted. The heat was so intense, the atmospherical heat, or the area was so intense, it would literally melt the entire buildings. This is just one example of the many cities of the past which are completely melted. Now, who had the technology thousands of years ago, or even 300, 400, it doesn't really matter. That technology was never supposed to exist, unless the people who use this technology are not human beings. They are species from other worlds. This is why history, again, is afraid to talk about these things openly. They just say that this is natural mountain formations. Fine, I mean, if you want to believe official science, which is basically blind, then yeah, go ahead and just believe they are natural formations. From my point of view, that is just completely unacceptable. Now here we have another very interesting rock formation. What does this remind you? Well, this reminds me exactly of a tree stump. This is in India again. Look at this massive, gigantic tree stump, which is literally in the middle of the city, alright? It's not a mountain, it's a freaking tree stump. You can tell by the shape of it, as you can see here, is literally the cut surface of a massive giant tree, which was literally kilometers high, as you can imagine here. And these were the old trees which existed on Earth back millennia in the past. Again, there was a massive culling of the Earth. There was a massive harvesting of the Earth in the past. Who did that? Again, different species from other worlds. And they literally took all of the good resources of the planet Earth and took them away with themselves. And they pretty much left us with effectively just bushes, because the actual trees, the actual giant true trees, are all but gone. There's no more left on this planet. This is an interesting piece of material, right? This is effectively cut stone, but this is in Jordan, from ancient ruins. Ancient ruins in Jordan, as you can see here, and it shows perfectly cut, alright, sliced, done by a tool, which you cannot do this with copper or iron. You just cannot make this happen. These particular cuts are only possible by using either 1, a laser cutter, 2, a high intense pressure water cutter, okay, or effectively diamond cutter. Simple as that. These are the only methods, okay, to do this effectively. And you can tell that this is done by a exquisite technique of cutting, right? So thousands of years ago, some civilization somehow had the technology to cut these stones and put them and mount them. What happened to this civilization? Where did they disappear? What technology did they use? What did they just go extinct, or did they just leave this planet? Something must have happened to them, because they just left these stuff, these massive temples and ruins and pyramids, and they just abandoned them and they left forever. But there must be a reason for that. Either they were there in a rush to leave, or just simply because the resources of Earth for them were not sufficient enough, and then they just decided to ignore us and leave us to our fate and go off to a different world altogether. Of course, there are many theories. I don't know which one is correct, because, you know, I don't come from the past. I know it, obviously. So, you know, it's up to our imagination. But this is quite clear cut that this was not made by the humans who lived there allegedly 1000 or 2000 years ago. It's just physically impossible, because this is modern cutting techniques. And granite, this type of material, is very, very hard to cut. It's one of the difficult materials to cut. This is again another problem. So effectively, the ancient tools which we are told that people had in the past were not able to make this cut. So who the heck was responsible for this? Here we have another massive mystery, and this one, guys, is amazing. So this is an ancient Roman city in Africa. That's right, close to Sahara. This massive city, as you can see here, was completely obliterated, was totally destroyed. And nobody knows the reason why it disappeared. It's just incredible. I mean, look at this. I mean, the city, as you can see here, the buildings were just completely decimated, all right? It's insane. We have here the auditorium as well. You can see here the city was quite massive, to be honest. Remains of temples everywhere. I mean, it's just crazy. And it just disappeared. It just was completely erased. Something happened there. There was a reset. Maybe, like, again, they just melted the buildings potentially, because it looks really weird. As you can see here, they're just crumbled to pieces. And again, it's just bizarre, guys. What the hell happened there? It's just shocking. But something big happened to that place, where potentially, who knows, maybe hundreds of thousands of people, or even millions of people lost their lives here, or just got erased, or disappeared, or left, or abandoned the place. No idea, guys. But this is very highly suspicious. I mean, super highly suspicious, to be honest. Now, this one is a very important fact, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing. So Marco Polo, one of the first and most famous Europeans to travel to Asia during the Middle Ages, lets people know that after he lived in China for 17 years, around 2071, he returned with reports of families raising dragons, yoking them to chariots for parades, training them and having spiritual union with them. The 12 signs of the Chinese zodiac are animals, 11 of which are everyday existing creatures, alright? Rabbit, horse, dog, ox, rabbit, tiger, snake, ram, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. The 12th is a dragon. Why would the Chinese include this mythological dragon with these common living animals? Big question. Because back in the day, dragons actually existed. That's right, guys, it's 100% true. And there's lots of scriptures and documents, even Christian documents from the past, from the Middle Ages, which showcased people hunting down dragons, killing them because they were a danger to their farms. So effectively, once the human got even more modernized and more organized, they effectively killed off this legendary creature one by one, because it was a threat to themselves. And same happened in China. Effectively, after a couple of, after some time, these creatures were eliminated from existence. But back in the day, maybe 900 years ago, 800 years ago, basically, in China, the dragons were not mythological. They were common creatures, same as a monkey, as a snake, as a tiger, a dog or pig. It doesn't really matter. So guys, that's it for today's video. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, because we are talking here about things which are just never going to be talked about in official medium, because they are very controversial. And controversial stuff, of course, in textbooks is never welcomed by the official media and by the the world order, because they don't like people to ask sensitive questions, which could effectively lead to people rethinking our actual history, heritage, and who the heck actually rules on this planet. Guys, that's it for today's video. As always, see you later in the next one.